Hello guys, my name is Fawad Ahmad. I'm going to present you the document workflow that we have developed for our client called Al Asap. And basically, it's based on a certain number of users which have different types of authorizations, and the workflow is mainly dependent upon the type of the user. So I'll first explain what are the different types of users we have. Mainly is the document controller user, who will be the one responsible for creating the documents. Basically, these documents are requests from ADNOC, and which Al Asab receives, and Al Asab, after receiving the request, they have to respond like within 7 working days. Otherwise, there is a penalty from the client, and so that is why it's important that the document controller will register the request, and afterwards this request will go to the corresponding user, and they will give their input, give their feedback, and once their feedback is done based on the request, then this response is sent back to the client, which is the ADNOC for Al Asab. So I will start with the document controller. So right now we have configured all these users inside the system. So Emily is our document controller, and I will log in with Emily and create a request in the system. So as you can see, this is the dashboard for the Emily here. She can see the incoming letters, and there are also outgoing letters. So right now we'll be focusing on incoming letters only. So as a first step, the document controller receives an email from the ADNOC. This email contains a reference number and the subject. The subject can be anything. Like for example, the ADNOC can request the resume of one of the employees. So in this case, the document controller will simply register the request, and what is received in the email, and then this request will be forwarded to the corresponding users. So I'm going to register the request right now. So let's suppose this is the reference code the Al Asab receives from ADNOC, and all the requests, all the documents are created under a certain project. So we have a project, and in the subject we can type resume of XYZ employee, and then this important thing is this is the receiving date. From this date, the reply time, the time starts actually like within 7 days. The alasab they have to respond, and these are the other details that as per the requirements. Okay, we have these fields. So this total days to respond is configurable over here. So right now we'll make it default 7 days, and we can also set an alarm that after 5 working days, if still the response is not ready, then they can expedite the process. And all these parameters, they have associated notifications which are sent automatically to all the people who are part of this group email. So right now I'll just for the sake of demo, I'll create this group email. I'll create the request, and here you can see this information is saved inside our system. So right now you can see the project details. The current status is created and received date is 7, and there is also individual days to respond. Like every user is responsible to reply within a certain number of days. So this is configurable inside the system. So we have made 1 day the response time for every user, and the deadline is like 7 days, which is the total response time. And here you can see the action. So action means like this user, which is Emily right now, she has to take an action on this request. So the document controller, after creating the request, the first user is the document controller, whose responsibility is to forward it to the next user, which is the project manager. Here you can see the letter awaiting action. So if you click over here, click the checkbox, then all the actions which are which the user is required to respond, they will be displayed over here. So this user, I'll click on the action. So here you will see the by default status is proceed. Apart from proceed, the document controller in the first stage he cannot do anything, and the next user in sequence is either the document controller, like he can retain the request, or he can forward to the project manager. Again, all these users, like say for the one I'm showing you over here, they are already configured in the system. So here just put the comments. Okay, like action is required, and you can simply hit the save button, and now you can see the request has gone to the project manager, this user. So if project manager will log in, and he will see the current status of the request is in process, and he can perform action from his end now. So the next action is waiting for the project manager. So I log out from Emily and I log in with Safir and see the dashboard of Safir. Okay guys, you can see here the dashboard of Safi. So here it's awaiting action. So now the next action, like what Safi can do, Safi can see the request, which is the resume of XYZ employee. So based on the request, he knows like the next person to respond to the request from his team is then the HR, the human resource department. So it depends upon the type of request. So it can the project manager can forward this request to any of the concerned users, and then those users, they will respond back to the project manager. So interaction between the project manager and the rest of the user is like he'll be sending and they'll be responding back to the project manager. Again, I'll click on the action button over here, and another important thing, he can also close if it seems like this request is unnecessary. So there is an option to even close the request, but we'll move forward and we'll see like this request is required to go to the human resource department. So I can, this project manager will type okay, need kind action, and then simply click the save button. So here you can see the request has gone to the human resource department, or the person in charge of the human resource. And right now, if you want to see all the workflow, like how the request was generated, or the complete summary of the workflow, so we have this tree view model over here. You click on the tree view, here you can see the reference number, when it was received, how many days were there in which you have to respond, how many days remaining till now, how many days have elapsed till today, and then all the users who have responded. Like this user is the one who created the request, and then with this request within the first day he responded, so there is actually 0 days of delays there. And then it moved on to the Safi, the product manager. Again, he in the very first day he responded, there is a 0 day delay, and then all the comments, and now the request lies with the Yasmin, which is the human resource. So what human resource can do, human resource, he can find the resume of the person, and he can attach with the request, and he can respond. So let's log in with human resource user, which is Jasmine, and see the action over here again. So once the this user will attach the corresponding document, which is the resume, so he can forward it back to the product manager. As you can see, there is no other option for the user to proceed, so he will have to choose the product manager, put his comments if there are, and then send back to the product manager. Okay, so right now what we are going to do, we are going to have all the attachments in the system. So this is the attachments module, so we can go over here, type over here resume of XYZ user, and this is for your your approval, and simply you can go and whatever document is there, resume is there, you just want to attach, and this document will be the part of the system right now. So he will close from here, and what I'll do, I'll refresh the system, I'll go to the resume. Right now maybe some glitches there. Okay, anyway, this is the module that will be carrying the all the attachments in the system. So what we'll do right now, go back over here, go to the project manager and send that attached resume attached, and I just click the save button. So now it goes back to the project manager. Okay, so once it's back with the project manager, next sequence is like project manager will have to forward the request back to the document controller. So this document controller, then once the request is received by the document controller, he will have to verify with the contractor. So this is like the workflow that we have implemented. So I log in with the project manager, which is Sapphire, and I'll see like what action do we have over here. So he can close the request, or he can forward to the document controller, or like if request is not meant for the concerned person, like the human resource, may respond like, okay, this request is not concerned, meaning go to the quality control or any other department. So he will forward to that particular department unless until he is satisfied with the request. So let's assume that everything is okay and he has received the document, so the next request goes to the document controller. Okay, so sending for final approval or whatever is there, whatever message you want to send. So again, this goes to the Emily, is a document controller. So now the document controller, he has to send the request to the contractors. That is important step. Why? Because contractors, they have to see, like, if ADNOC is requesting for something, like here is okay, resume is there, so it's not a big thing, but sometimes they request for extra barrels of fuel. So in this case, they have to verify with the contractual agreements that they have, that do they have certain number of barrels of fuel available or no. Okay, so in this case, contractors, they have to consult the contractors and get the approvals first. So Emily will log in and Emily will forward request to the contractors. Okay, so I'm going to sign out. So here we have Emily, and the request, as you can see, is can be moved to the contractor, again to the product manager if if the user wants. So we'll forward request to the contractor, or sending to verify contractual agreements. So we'll send it to the contractor, whoever is configured in the system. So this user Faisal is configured as a contractor. So now this contractor, he can send again this request to anybody, maybe to the product manager, maybe to any other user who is part of the process, who is already involved in the communication, in the workflow, and then verify like whether we have, as per the contracts, we do we qualify to respond to the request or not. Okay, so I'll log in with contractor. Logout this is Faisal, and then this contractor will forward this request to the next user. Okay, so the next user is basically the owner. They call the owner as COO in the CCO, sorry, in the system. Before it goes to the CCO, it has to go to the secretary, because normally the owners, they are busy. So the secretary will verify all the documents, all the requirement request, everything is okay. The secretary will pass on the request to the COO. Mainly this is for the signature. So once the owner will sign the documents, physically sign the documents, they will attach in the system and they will send back to the secretary. And then the secretary duties, like to forward the final the document to the document controller. So in this case, unless until, as per the client requirement, unless until the secretary forwards the request to the document controller, it cannot be closed by by the document controller. So either project manager can close at any stage, or the document controller can close this request. So right now we are logged in, and we need to, as a we are logged in as so we need to forward the request to secretary. Okay, we logged in as contractors, so sending for your signature. So I just simply log in over here. So Sania, this is the secretary right now, so I log in with Sania, and then once I log in, so the next action is I need to forward this request to the COO. Now again, the signing can forward request back to the document controller as well to close. But if CEO wants to see the request, then it can be forwarded to the COO. So I'll forward request to the COO, which is Rebecca. Need signature. So now Rebecca will log in and verify the action and send the request back to the user. More importantly, because the owner is the COO is the main owner of the complete workflow. Like he can take any other actions, like he can pause the request, reject, postpone, because if even if as per the contractual agreement everything is fine, but the final decision lies with the owner, so that's why he can pause or cancel the reject, but he cannot close, because closing means like you have entertained the request. So that has to be done by the document controller itself. So now we'll forward it to the secretary, because secretary is the one who has to forward to the document controller in order to close it. So we'll forward to the secretary. So this Sani is there as a user, so Sani will simply forward the request to the document controller, and here you can see before the users are not coming, but as on the way you keep on communicating the different users who are part of the workflow, so all these users they start to appear in this list over here. So at any stage you can even open communication with any of the users if there is any kind of confusion. So right now we'll forward to the document controller, okay, and we'll just send message sign off, and finally this goes to the document controller. So log out. So document controller was Emily and sign in, and here once we'll go over here we can see the default action is the status is coming as close, and the next user in action there is nobody except the controller himself. So this is closing the project, or closing the workflow. So here simply the workflow that has been closed. So if you want to see all the communication, you can see all the steps, and this green indicates that this has been closed along with the date, and we can close over here. Apart from this we have other modules, like there's a communication module. So any communication you want to send message from DC, so the DC they can send message over here. You can see there's also option for the file attachment, and this is another thing, there is an option called track letter. So track letter is a chaining of the activities, like if I receive this letter or sub, then in response, uh, what when I'm sending a response which will be through email, it will not be from the system, so I'll put another reference code, and this reference code will be, once the client will receive that, the NOC will receive, they will respond back to that reference code by using a different reference code. So it's like a complete correspondence is there. I'm the Allah sub is sending one letter request, and they are responding against a different reference number, and then this goes on. Sometimes this response, they are sending three requests, or maybe more than three requests in one response. So they will open three different letters in from on their side, and then all of the letters they have to respond. So this chaining option is also there. So from here, if you click at the reference code right now, because we don't have any letters, so you can click over a certain letter, then it will show you the complete track of from where these letter histories, how the letter history is being maintained. So this was like the basic workflow we have right now. We have the templates, and here you can see individual to respond days. So right now 0 days are left, so like the user has to respond today for this particular clause. But not no, because this is closed, so that's why it's coming 0. So you can check from here to see for the letters who have passed the 7 days deadline, and for the letters in which the users are delaying. So simply just click user deadline pass, so it will highlight all those letters over here. And this is the default, the template in which the is a Word document. Actually this can be downloaded, and the client or the sub, the document controller, will finally fill this letter and respond in this one. This is to maintain symmetry, because before they were having so many word formats, so now they'll be using the single word format. Then there is a delay report, so you can choose from here the project and the incoming letters, and based on the letter you can find out like which user is causing the delay. If you want to see all the users, just simply hit generate report. So right now we don't have any user who has caused the delay, so this will also generate your report. and there's option to download the report as well. Okay, so finally once all this is sorted out, this letter has been closed. Next step is to send the outgoing letter. So this outgoing letter is nothing, just a small form is here in which the user will fill out all the details and just save in their database, because the corresponding to the client like AdNoc and Alasab is only through the emails. They don't entertain the software right now, but this is, will help Alasab to figure out like where is the letter right now and which are the user who are causing mainly that delay. So this is a small workflow demo that will show you like how we have done for the Alasab. So I hope that this is you can understand it very well.